That is the Alamo Bowl. Remember the Alamo? Torres does. Arizona versus Oklahoma. How about this? Kind of an interesting line here. Arizona, the Wildcats, 9-3 coming into this game. They are actually the 3-point favorite, a 3-point favorite over Oklahoma. The over-under set at 62.5. Couple thoughts on this one coming in. One, first of all, remember this, kind of an interesting fun fact. Last year, remember who played in this game? It was Texas and Washington. It was a college football playoff preview a year ahead of schedule. Who could have guessed it? Well, it ended up happening. I think it's sort of worth noting. We just talked about the college football playoff preview with Penn State Ole Miss. I think both Oklahoma and Arizona could be in the mix next year because Arizona's 9-3. They return basically everybody. Oklahoma returns quite a bit. And that includes, and this is the big story coming into this one, Jackson Dart, the new starting quarterback. So for people who don't follow this stuff religiously, I'm sure a lot of people were kind of surprised to see Dillon Gabriel enter the transfer portal. And I saw all sorts of speculation of, is it NIL? How much is Oregon offering? And listen, I don't think Dillon Gabriel's playing for charity. I don't think he's playing for free. But the reason that Dillon Gabriel is not the quarterback at Oklahoma in this game and won't be next year is because Oklahoma basically told him, we got this 5-star kid waiting in the wings, Jackson Arnold. He was a 5-star in last year's recruiting class. He played sparingly this year, but he was brought in to be the guy to lead Oklahoma into the SEC. And so now we get him in his first career start in this game. And bluntly, I'm really excited to see him in this game. 5-star, big arm. It'll be interesting to see. Remember, we just talked about it in the Peach Bowl. Everyone talks about Penn State's defense. Well, no Manny Diaz for Penn State. And then for Oklahoma, not only is it a new quarterback, new play caller as well. Jeff Lebby, the offensive coordinator, left to take the Mississippi State head coaching job. So that's worth monitoring there. It is worth noting the Oklahoma defense, it's getting better under Brent Venables. It was literally the worst defense in the Big 12 last year. This year they are better, but they are not elite by any stretch of the imagination. As they finished basically really, kind of essentially middle of the pack in the Big 12. Total defense, they finished 80th nationally, so that's not ideal. And then I think it is worth noting, as a pass defense, they ranked 100th nationally, and they're going up against a very good Arizona Wildcats passing attack. For people who are not familiar with Arizona or don't really know how they got to 9-3, I'll say this bluntly, it was one of the great stories in college football this year. And one thing about college football, because we have this 4-team playoff, I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in it's the teams that are going to make the playoff that we don't see and appreciate great stories that don't involve the playoff. Well, Arizona is one of them. They were 5-7 last year, 1-11 the year before in Jed Fish's first year, now 9-3. So by the way, 4-win increase next year. They go 13 and whatever next year, that'd be pretty darn good. But 1-11 to 5-7 to 9-3 this year. And a couple reasons why. One, through sort of dumb luck, they had a quarterback change from Jayden de Laura to Noah Fifita. For people who don't know the backstory, Jayden de Laura was a transfer from Washington State, really good there, played well last year, but he gets hurt. Noah Fifita comes in, and it's basically a Wally Pipp situation, never gave the job back. Loses to Washington by a touchdown. Then loses to USC in triple overtime. And even at that point, Jed Fish was non-committal as far as like when Jayden de Laura comes back, we plan on putting him back in. But once Noah Fifita got that job, he never gave it up. They beat Washington State from there. They end up winning 6 games in a row to end the season. And where it's especially interesting, 4 of those teams were ranked when Arizona played them. So listen, the Pac-12 was good this year. Can't sit there and say, well, it was the lousy Pac-12. They beat 4 teams that were ranked when they played them: Washington State, Oregon State, UCLA, and Utah. Took care of Arizona State, took care of Colorado. You may have heard of them with Coach Prime. And so they took care of business down the back half of the season. Beyond the offense, by the way, Fifita is a very good player. If you haven't watched him, he's small. He's about 5'10", 5'11", but 74% completion percentage, 23 touchdowns in limited time. His high school teammate, T-Mac, Tatoria McMillan, a star. That is like a true difference maker. Was like a high 4-star coming out of high school, was originally committed to Oregon. When Mario Cristobal decided to leave for Miami, he decommitted and ended up at Arizona, one of the highest rated recruits they've had in a long time. So there is talent on that Arizona team. But more importantly, thought Fish did a very good job of cleaning up the defense this year. Last year, they were ranked like 127th nationally or something like that in total defense. This year, they moved up to 37th nationally. And again, remember the teams they played. They played Washington. They played at USC. They played Colorado, which could move the football. They played Washington State, the number 6 total offense in college football, held them to 6 points. So this defense is tested. This defense is ready. And I think this defense is going to show a lot of people how good it is when they play Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl. As a matter of fact, this is an official AT best bet. I do like Arizona to win and cover in this game. Bottom line is, one, I just think Arizona is a really good team. And sometimes you can tell with teams, they like being around each other. It's so obvious there's good team chemistry in that locker room. You know, Jedd Fisch, I think he was at least contacted about coaching jobs. Doesn't feel like he really seriously considered anything else. I don't know if he officially signed the extension, but one is certainly coming his way. But that's just a locker room that you could tell loves being around each other, and they just got better and more confident every single week. As far as Oklahoma, I think there's a couple things. One, it's worth noting that pass defense was not very good this year. And the one thing about Fafita, you give him time in the pocket, he is going to make the right play not every single time, but pretty much every single time. Beyond that, and this is important, I think not only having a first-time starting quarterback in this game, but also having a first-time starting quarterback with a first-time starting play caller, I think that is a recipe for disaster, especially, again, against an Arizona defense that faced some really good quarterbacks and some really good offenses this year. You think Arizona is going to be worried about the Oklahoma passing attack because Jackson Arnold's a 5-star? After they face Caleb Williams, after they face Michael Penix, after they face Cam Ward, after they face Michael Penix? I do not see it. So in the end, go ahead and give me Arizona to win this game. I'll say 31-24 is your final. Arizona wins and covers.